Ever since the pandemic, I feel like my life hasn't gone anywhere. I went to school in New York, graduated, got a degree, but it feels completely useless. Fast forward in LA, everything feels the same. And you might be wondering to yourself, right, what the hell is going on here? And for somebody who does not like to write, why am I sitting there writing a journal? And that's completely fair. But long story short, let me explain. It all started this morning after a crazy party last night. I woke up, well, I didn't really wake up because I did what most people do. I grabbed my phone and started scrolling on Instagram. That's basically the morning routine after a crazy night anyway. Still half asleep, but somehow my thumb already had enough energy to scroll. Everybody looked like they had their life together. Perfect outfit, gym selfie, the whole fake peace starter pack. But here I am wondering, what am I going to do with my life? I sat there thinking to myself, this is college all over again. I don't have a career, no stable job, but here I am partying just to wash away the humiliation. But we all know, if I wanted to put an end to this madness, I will have to take initiative. I will have to make the first step, or else this might just be the rest of my life. And that's when it hit me. What if I spend the next 3 months, just 3 months, actually taking care of myself, really slowing down, really doing the things that I love? What would happen to me? Well, I guess there's only one way to find out. Now let's go give it a try. Okay, so this is where things got a little tricky because I had put myself into this track to make changes, but I didn't even begin to understand what I just got myself into. So this got me thinking, right? If I was really serious about this, if I wanted to take the next step in my life, I needed a plan. A plan that would consist of 5 minimalist habits that would change my life. Which led us right back to the situation we're in right now. But here's the part nobody really talks about, right? Wanting to change your life and actually changing your life are two completely different things. Unless you're prepared to mentally and physically make the right choices and take the initiative, you'll just be running in circles. And that's why these minimalist habits are going to help you change your life.
Tribute and success.
So the first habit I started with was learning. And when I say learning, I don't mean the fake kind. I'm not talking about the kind where you sit at home, watch a few videos, save a bunch of posts, tell yourself you're doing research, and then get distracted 10 minutes later. Because if we're being honest, right, it's really easy to look like you're learning when you're alone without actually going deep. What I am talking about is the real learning, the kind where you actually leave the house, take a course, sit in the class, and be in the room. And yeah, I know that sounds like a little bit more work, but that's the entire point. Because once you're physically put yourself in that environment, it becomes harder to hide behind distraction. And the best part is, learning in real life gives you more than information. It gives you accountability, it gives you people to talk to, it gives you a chance to ask questions when you're stuck instead of sitting there confused by yourself. And sometimes, just being around a lot of people who are trying to grow changes your energy. So yeah, the first habit is learning, not pretending to learn. The second habit I started with was taking an art class. And honestly, this one felt different because this wasn't about fixing my life, it wasn't about being productive, it wasn't about getting ahead. This was about giving myself permission to do something I actually love. I always like to draw, but somewhere along the way, I think I stopped treating that part of me like it matters. Like if it wasn't making money, if it wasn't building a career, then maybe it wasn't important. But I was wrong, because not everything that helps you needs to be productive. Something help you because they slow you down, they quiet your mind, they remind you that you still a person outside of stress. And that's what taking an art class did for me. It gave me somewhere to be for no other reason than to be creative. Just me, a pencil, and enough quiet to focus on one thing at a time. And weirdly enough, drawing taught me something I think I really needed. You don't need to get everything right the first time. You can make bad lines, erase it, try again, and still end up with something beautiful. The third habit I started with was boxing. And this one changed something different in me because by this point, I had already started learning, I had already started creating again, but I still had all this energy in my body that had nowhere to go. I'm talking about stress, all the frustration from past failures, confusion, all the stuff I kept carrying around, even when I looked calm. And with boxing, I had a place to exert all of that energy, not in a destructive or reckless way, but in a focused way. What I love about boxing is that it forced me to be present. You can't really overthink when something is hitting back, right? You can't be lost in your phone, you can't be halfway there. You're either focused or you get humble. And I think that's what I needed. Something physical, something that didn't care how I felt, only whether I show up or not. Because some days motivation wasn't there, some days I didn't feel like doing anything, but boxing taught me that showing up still counts, even when you don't feel perfect. So that habit changed my life because it reminded me that taking care of myself wasn't just mental. Sometimes healing looked like sweats, sometimes peace looked like exhaustion, and sometimes growth looks like learning how to fight for yourself without fighting yourself. And the crazy part is, the real workout didn't just stop at the gym. I started carrying that same focus back into my life. The same patience, the same control. Little by little, I stopped reacting to everything. I stopped letting stress run me. I started feeling stronger, not just physically, but mentally as well. And I think that's what boxing really gave me. Not just a good workout, not just learning how to defend yourself, but a way to face life with more discipline, more confidence, and a little more fight in me. The fourth habit I started with was budgeting. And I know when most people hear that word, they think of stress, they think of spreadsheet, and all that random stuff. But honestly, it does not have to be all that. For me, budgeting wasn't about controlling in a bad way. It was about finally knowing where my life was going, because before this, money felt like something that just disappeared. I'd get paid, feel good for a day or two, and then somehow it was gone. Not because I was doing anything crazy or I wasn't paying attention. And when you don't pay attention, everything starts feeling expensive. Every bill felt personal, every month felt like a recovery mode. So budgeting became my way of slowing that down. And it wasn't because I was punishing myself, it was to tell my money where to go before life spent it for me. I didn't need some perfect finance setup, I didn't need 20 categories, I just needed clarity. What's coming in, what is going out, what I want to save, and what's left. And weirdly enough, that gave me peace. Once I stopped avoiding my numbers, my money stopped feeling like a burden in the background. It became something I could work with. That habit changed my life because it taught me something simple, right? A budget doesn't have to take your freedom away, it shows you where your freedom actually is. The fifth habit I started with was spending time alone. And I know that sounds simple or even a little corny, but this was different because for a long time, I think I was always around noise. People, parties, my phone, social media, something was always playing in the background. And I got used to that noise. And being alone almost felt uncomfortable. Like the second everything got quiet, I felt like I needed to fill the space. Check my phone, turn on something, text somebody, go somewhere, anything but just sit with myself. But once I started spending time alone on purpose, I realized I wasn't actually afraid of being alone, I was afraid of hearing myself too clearly. And that habit changed my life in a way I didn't expect, because being alone gave me room to think, room to breathe, room to ask myself what I actually wanted, without everybody else's noises sitting on top of it. I think that's when I really understood what minimalism was doing for my life. It wasn't just building habit, it was making space in my room, space in my routine, space in my mind, and spending time alone taught me how to live inside that space. So thank you guys for watching today's video. If you gained any value from this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and push the notification bell for more on sustainable fashion, personal finance, and minimalism. I'll see you guys on my next video.